So, this happened when I was 20 years old. I'm 22 now, so it wasn't that long ago. While I was in college, I babysat during the week for one family, and sometimes I'd nanny for the other, wealthier family on weekends. They'd often head out on weekends and leave their 2 kids, so I'd stay at the house the whole weekend with them. They had a dedicated guest bedroom just for me, and the family was really nice. Honestly, it was a great gig while it lasted. It happened in the fall. The leaves were falling everywhere, and it was chilly outside. I arrived at the house on Friday, and Friday night went totally fine. I just played with the 2 kids. I'll call them James and Jessica. James was 7, Jessica was 5. They were both adorable and well-behaved. Bedtimes were 7:30 for Jessica and 8:30 for James. During the day, I'd play with each of them and their toys. The family had 2 whole rooms just for toys. One for Jess, one for James. Jessica loved her dolls and dollhouses, so I spent a ton of time playing with her. James was all about his video games, so I'd watch him play. These kids had everything you could imagine, and the house was stunning. It was a huge property with a big pond right in the center. There was a separate 3-car garage, and then across the pond was the pool with a pool house that doubled as a bar and rec room, complete with a pool table, darts, arcade games, a massive TV, and several couches. This family was so loaded and over the top that they even had an intercom connecting the pool house to the main house. If you pressed a button on the wall in either spot, it'd ring, and then you could talk through it. The pool house also had this huge window overlooking the pond with a clear view of the house. After the kids were in bed, I could do whatever I wanted for the night. It was awesome. I wasn't allowed to have friends over, though. That was a rule I followed. I'd just FaceTime my friends and watch movies in the pool house to kill time. Not a bad spot to have some downtime, let me tell you. I got hungry, so I walked back across the property to the house, punched in the code to get in, and headed to the kitchen. They had tons of snacks and food I could help myself to. I grabbed a frozen snack from the freezer and popped it in the microwave. When it was done, I headed back across the property to the pool house. I liked chilling there more because I could talk louder on the phone and crank the TV without worrying about waking the kids. I was on the couch eating, watching White Chicks, and texting a bunch of friends. I was right in the middle of telling them how sweet this job was when the intercom buzzer scared the hell out of me. I went over to hit the answer button, and I heard Jessica's voice saying she was scared because she kept hearing noises. She usually slept straight through the night, so I figured I'd go tuck her in again. I set my food down and ran back across the yard to the house. I let myself in with the code again and went to Jess's room. She must have bolted straight back to bed after the intercom because she was already under the covers, looking terrified. I tickled her and tucked her in to help her feel better. Once she calmed down, I left her room, closed the door, and headed down the hall to the kitchen to grab some wine. As I was hunting for a corkscrew, I heard the faintest creak in the wood floor from another room. I froze and looked that way, waiting for another sound. I didn't want to freak myself out. I didn't want Jessica mentioning noises to mess with my head. I figured it was just the house settling. I admit I was a little creeped out at that point, but I'd left the lights and TV on in the pool house, so I had to go back. I went outside, locked up with the code, and ran across to the pool house. I sat back down on the couch and finished my food. I never ended up getting the wine. White Chicks was still playing, though I was mostly just scrolling on my phone. Then that damn intercom went off again, making me jump out of my seat. I rushed to answer it, and when I did, there was just silence on the other end. "Jessica," I said into the mic. I swear I heard breathing, but that was it. I called both Jessica's and James's names at least 3 times each. Now I was genuinely starting to get terrified. I called my friend Kelsey and told her I needed her to come over because I was actually getting really scared. I explained that the little girl I was watching said she heard noises, then I heard one myself, and now someone had pressed the intercom but wouldn't talk. It didn't feel like something the kids would do that I was still on the phone with Kelsey. She was telling me to chill out and not be paranoid, though she sounded pretty drunk herself. The whole time, I was staring out the window at the house. Then the hallway lights flipped on. I told Kelsey, and any chance it was one of the kids vanished when a big figure stepped into view at one of the hallway windows that I screamed and dropped the phone. I was looking right at a grown man who seemed to spot me, and he was staring back. I realized the intercom had been open the whole time. I grabbed my phone, hung up on Kelsey, and dialed 911. As I did, I was crying and screaming into the intercom that I was calling 911 right now. Leave us alone. Pretty much everything I told the police. I yelled into the intercom too. I looked back at the window, and he wasn't there anymore. I was hysterical, crying, begging the 911 operator to hurry, while she kept telling me to calm down and asking a bunch of questions. I kept shouting the address and saying, "Please hurry." When she asked if the kids were safe, I screamed, "No, they're still in the house with that man." That's when Jessica's scream came through the intercom, and I completely lost it. Fell to my knees crying while the operator tried to keep me together. But I couldn't. I said, "I don't know what to do." She told me the police were almost there, and I needed to wait. I said, "He has the kids." She asked if I'd seen any weapons. I said I couldn't tell. Then I heard Jessica's voice on the intercom saying my name. I rushed over and yelled, "Yeah, I'm here. Get your brother and get out of the house." She was crying, saying there was a man inside. I said, "I know, just grab your brother and come outside now." It was the bravest thing I'd ever done. Running back across the yard to the house and meeting the two kids who'd already made it to the door. I grabbed both of them and hurried them back across the yard to the pool house, where we hid with the lights off. Both kids were crying, and I wanted to as well, but I had to stay strong for them. I was still on with 911, and eventually she said the police were there and would come to the pool house. Those were the most relieving words I'd ever heard. Police flashlights started shining through the windows. I took the kids to the door, where we met a couple officers. The female officer took the kids to one car. I went with another officer to a different car. There were already 3 patrol cars out front, and more kept arriving. I answered every question they asked. And then they found him. They brought out a guy who looked about 6 feet tall. He stared at everyone as they walked him out in handcuffs and put him in a car. I still remember his face when he looked at me. It was disturbing, like the product of incest. His features were all wrong. Jessica and James's parents were called immediately and told what happened. No way any of us were staying there that night. The parents arranged for the kids' aunt to come pick them up and stay with her. She apparently called off work the next day. I went home once they didn't need me anymore, but when I got home that night, I couldn't sleep. I was still in total shock, probably from leftover adrenaline. The parents, understandably, didn't leave their kids alone for a long time after that. I'm certain they pressed charges to the maximum extent, and with their resources, I hope that Creep got everything he deserved, and worse, that I politely told them I couldn't work there anymore because that night haunted me. I can only imagine how traumatized those poor kids were, and maybe still are.